Hey, welcome back, Fast Monty's Garage. This is a continuation of last episode where we installed an LS3 pump, in-tank pump, for your Restomod fuel-injected car. Here's a picture of it. The reason I love it so much, it's from a Gen 5 Camaro, so you get the reliability. It has no return line to run, and you can run it down to 1 gallon in the tank. Lastly, you can get optional corner pickups, which is what I did. And they specifically work with our Rix tank. So the Rix tank is also baffled. So it's perfect for autocross, road race, or aggressive driving. You don't have to worry about ingesting air into your pump, which is a fuel injection killer. Now, that episode, we did all the wiring, the pre-wiring, AN hose lines, and when I went to put it in the car, it didn't fit. And that's why we're here. So today, I think we just have to do a minor modification on the side of the tank, get the tank installed, finish the wire harness wiring inside the car. Then we're going to go through a test fire dry to make sure the pump's running. I'm going to walk you through a 3-way switch, which you should install so you can make testing the pump easier and draining the tank. I'm going to show you a trick for plumbing there too. And then we're going to start filling the tank with 1 gallon at a time, so we can test the standalone sending unit and see how the gauge behaves. Because then that's the biggest question for all of us guys that have old cars, is what is a quarter tank really? Is it 2 gallons, or is it 15 gallons, or is it 5 gallons, which it should be? So lots to cover today. Let's get into it. Subscribe if you haven't, because we have a lot to cover, and obviously do a test drive later. So let's get into it. Let me show you what we got to do. It's because of this flange. See, on the old tank, that's actually bent up. This edge hits the side of the frame on both sides. Little attitude adjuster. I'm gonna see if I can go around and bend it up just like the original tank, or the tank that did fit. So we'll see how it looks. All right, that's a little better. I actually used channel locks to start the bend, and then a serious attitude adjuster to get that bent up. I also bent this corner up. So let's go give it a shot. It's better fit this time. All right, that little hammering did the trick. Fit right in there. Fuel line hooked up perfectly, hiding right up on top of the frame. Runs along the top of the frame. I'll show you guys the hookup by the filter. And by the way, you don't need a filter with this pump. And lastly, there's a wiring harness going up to the old pre-existing condition. My favorite. It finally paid off in my favor. Let's jump to the trunk. I'll show you how to wire this thing up. All right, welcome to my junk in the trunk. This is where that wire harness comes out. I already put a grommet on there. It works perfectly. And I highly recommend you guys run a relay. So a relay allows you to use a low voltage switch, like I'll show you later. I have a 3-way switch, which comes in handy, and you can run really low power to it, and it acts like a switch, basically. So I have a pretty big amperage power wire. My battery's in the trunk. That's what that wire is. And then this is our power out from the relay. The relay power will go to the red wire on the harness. The yellow wire is for the OEM sending unit that would be on a different pump. Red wires for the pump. Ground, remember we connected all the grounds. And then the white wire is for the sending unit. So I got to track where that sending unit is, wire them up. I'll show you my favorite connector for using inside the car, and find a ground somewhere on the body. And I'll show you a grease I use to prevent corrosion and increase connectivity. All right, guys, I drilled a little hole in the body right there, and I use this stuff called deoxit. You just dip the connector in there, and this is good for rust prevention, and it's opposite of a dielectric grease. Dielectric grease does not conduct electricity. This stuff does. It's very unique. I'll leave a link for it below. I highly recommend it in all your connections. Here's that new connector I like so much. Basically put one end on, a stripped screw, sorry, not a screw, wire, and then you just screw it in. like that. It's called a Pazza lock, or Pazzi lock. I'll leave a link for that below too. One of you guys recommended it. It's pretty awesome. Thanks for the recommendation. Voila, and you can take it apart and reuse it. All right, all wired up. I added a 20 amp fuse. Better safe than sorry. All right, we got our wiring done. It's time to do a test fire of the pump. Now, it's dry. I don't recommend running the pump longer than 2 or 3 seconds. We just want to hear, make sure it's whining. That means we got our wiring all set up. Now, when you're setting up your system, I highly recommend putting like a dual pole 3-way switch in. So in my center console, I have a switch like this, but it's 3-way, which means up, on, in the middle is off, and then at the bottom is on. And it's a dual pole. So in standard operating mode, I have it up, which means the center contact here is actually going to the relay. The bottom contact, which means when that's up, it's working. This is from the throttle body. So most fuel injection throttle body systems have a power out for the pump. That's actually running to this contact. So normal operating mode, the pump runs when the engine's running for safety's sake. If the engine dies, it actually turns the pump off. Now, how do you test the pump? Well, it's a good question. That's where the switch comes in. So I go all the way down. I have 12 volt keyed power on the top connector, and that opens up the pump circuit and runs the pump. So I don't need the engine on. I can test the pump. We can also drain the tank, which I'm going to show you that plumbing later in this video. So our goal right now is to make sure when I flip that switch, we can hear a whine. If we don't hear a whine, we got to pull the tank again. So here we go. Key on. My switch is in neutral. So when I hit down, I hope we hear a whine here. Here we go. T-minus 3, 2, 1. Yes, did you guys hear that? It was very faint. It was nowhere near the knocking noise that Holley pump makes, so that's a good thing. Next step here is I got to put the filler tube on, put my exhaust in, make sure everything fits, and we can start measuring how much fuel it takes to move the fuel gauge. So hopefully nothing happens with the exhaust. Be right back for the next step. Just when I thought it was going so smoothly, look at this. The exhaust is hitting the tank, and I don't even have the exhaust all the way in yet. It's actually got to go up another 1/4 inch. Man, this is pissing me off because oh shit, it's going so smoothly. What happened? So anyway, the gap back here with my Sharpie, that's the gap I want to see. There is no gap here, so that means we have to modify the tank. I have no room to move my exhaust. Oh, of course. So I'm gonna probably make some marks all over the tank here and pull the tank again, because I gotta figure out, I don't know if I should weld a patch panel or what. So I basically want this to come down like that. So we gotta go take all that corner off. So I'll make some marks on the tank. Damn it. All right, so we are quite literally back to the drawing board. Got a pen. We need to make some marks here. Now you saw under the car, this is what we're looking like. So I can fit my Sharpie back here. I can't get in here. So before I go drastic on this thing, I talked to Rick. You know, Rick's Tanks. Yeah, talk to Rick. He said they're well aware of fitment issues on aftermarket exhausts. I have a MagnaFlow 2.5 inch MagnaFlow exhaust, and this tank is bigger than normal. I verified that too. This is a 20-gallon tank now. Hooray! I get to pay $100 per fill up. Oh my gosh. So my exhaust is also tucked up in there. You've seen how low my car is. I have my exhaust to the extreme height from the ground, which compounds the problem because this tank is thicker. So that's why we're in this mess. And anything worth doing, I'm all about it, because I want it to work, I want it to function, I want it to be my dream, right? This is what I want to do for my project. You guys are probably the same. You fall in love with a certain technology, you want to implement it on your car, you're going to change like 10 things down the line. That's where we're at. So we can go about this in a couple different ways. Number one way, and the easiest way, is take a sledgehammer and bang the crap out of this thing. Push this whole corner in. Yeah, that would work. But the problem with that is whenever you take a hammer to formed metal, you cannot control what's going to deform. Unless you have a hammer and dolly or a beater bag or something on the back that you can control every impact. And even in that case, you will distort areas you don't want distorted. That brings us to plan B, and that's cut it off and put a patch panel in. And that's what we're going to do. I know you guys think I'm crazy because a brand new tank, get a tank that works. Well, I don't know of any other tank on the market that has baffles in it or corner pickups. That's why I love this thing. And now that I'm married to it, we're going to start making some changes. So with that being said, I need to think about my best approach here. What I would prefer to do on any kind of patch panel work. And if you've never done it before, you want to keep the bends to a minimum on your patch panel because it's very hard to match contours. So what I plan to do is cut this straight down, straight across, so I can put like an L bracket in there of sheet metal across the corner. And that'll give us the space. And also you want to keep in mind, can you weld in there? Now, if you've never welded before, give it a shot. Try it. Get a couple pieces of metal, practice on those. That's how I learned, and that's how I'm going to do this approach today. So I'm going to go ahead and take a few minutes to gather my thoughts on the best approach, and I'll show you what I come up with. All right, guys, so now that we've decided we're going to cut this corner off, I have removed everything out of the tank. The pump is out, the corner pickups are out, the sending unit is out, all bagged up because I don't want them to get dirty. This is going to be a messy operation. Now you can elect to use like a cutoff wheel on a die grinder, whatever. I'm going to start the process with this mini air-powered saw, which I love for sheet metal work. I got it from Eastwood. I'll try and find a part number. It's been a while since I bought it. I don't know if that still exists. But the point here is I want to make a perfectly straight cut down the tank and then a straight cut over, and that way we can put just a piece of metal straight in that corner, welded in. The straighter it is, the easier it is to work with because you only have this surface, this contour edge to work with. Now the big question is, how in the heck do we get a straight cut on this contoured surface? That is difficult. Now, my plan of attack here is, as you can see, I have my carpenter square sitting on the tank. It's perfect because we have that edge, that lip to sit on. I'm going to take a 45-degree angle approach. So I have 6 inches in, 6 inches out, and a straight edge on top. So you're going to want to stand above it, line up the 6-inch mark, and then get some like 3/4 inch masking tape. With that tape, the reason I want it 3/4 or smaller, if you have smaller, even better, this is going to be our paint edge. Not paint edge, sorry, our cutting line. So you're going to look straight down and bend your tape. The reason I like this tape is the outside of the tape, so you can make a contour like that, right? Don't use the inside. So as you go up the side here, you can actually bend the tape and make a straight cut. Looking down on it, okay? So I'm gonna spend some time, I'm gonna perfect that. I'll show you what I come up with. Check it out. Is that line straight enough for you guys? Yeah, that's pretty straight. What I did is I took a straight piece of tape and standing above my line, I marked 6 inches, you know, on each end, and I can see the marks because the tank is curved in a little bit. And I eyeballed it like that, and I laid the tape straight down. It took me a couple times to get it, but this is pretty darn straight. All right, as the saying goes, good enough for government work. I'm gonna go ahead and take my pen now, All right, so I exaggerated my line. I wanted to show you guys something. Even if you mess up on your tape, on your line with your pen, now you take your tape off. Now we have a nice sharp edge to work from. All right, same methodology on my bottom line. So there's our section I want to cut out. All right, it's time. Point of no return. And for those of you that have never done metalworking before, it's I think it's the same for everyone when I can say, I'm still nervous about this. That I'm about to ruin a perfectly good tank, but I get to make it mine and be proud of what I did. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna make some starter holes. So I have a drill. The drill bit is a little bit bigger than my blade, and I'm gonna go in the corner. So I'm gonna put a hole here and a hole on the other corner. The reason is this works so well is that I can now start my blade, go up and over, and that leaves a radius here. Because when you bend sheet metal, and because that's my plan, is to bend sheet metal in there, you can never ever bend sheet metal perfectly 90 degrees, well, at that corner. There's always going to be a radius. So if I leave metal here, as far as the radius of the drill bit, it'll probably work out fine. If we need to take away a little bit of material, we can grind it down a little bit, not a big deal. But starting with a hard edge, that's never fun filling that when you're welding. So I put a center punch. I'm gonna get to drilling here. Here we go. One done. Two done. All right, it's cutting time. Sorry, honey, it's gonna get loud. Bam. All right, let's see. Here's my little 2x4 test piece. And that's actually pretty good. I missed a couple, I got wavy on my cutting, but I can go around with my flap disc grinder on my die grinder and take a couple of the high spots off, and we'll be nice and straight. Oh yeah, the bottom one's perfect. So, sweet. All right, so you guys know I'm not blowing smoke. Check this out. So I upgraded to a 2x6, obviously a little helpful to cover the whole gap. But that is perfect. Now I get to do the same thing on the other side. This is the beauty of, remember when we did the 6" by 6". I can do the same measurement on the other side, so we'll have a mirror image. Whew, after I'm done with that, I'm gonna show you how to make a template, and we'll get to metal bending. All right, both corners are cut out, mirror images of each other, so yes, math does work. Stay in school, kids. So now we have to figure out, how do we make a piece of metal out of this, right? And the easiest thing to do is to get a template. Manila folder template. And look, you just put it right in there, and then you press on the edge of the steel, and you will come up with a template. And then you take your handy dandy scissors or pen if you want to go over that edge, and then cut it out, and then you can find a piece of steel to cut out. Voila, just like that. I'm gonna go find some steel, cut it out, bend the heck out of it. Be right back. All right, template, real deal. Check this out. Bam, like it's supposed to go there. Yeah, this might not be called a Rick's tank anymore. It might be a Monty's tank from moving forward. So before I seal this up, I really want to show you guys something. And you may have noticed it earlier in the videos, are all these different connections for venting. So I'm going to show you in the tank what those vents look like. All right, so here's the vents on the passenger side. And on the driver's side, there's only one this size right here. And we'll talk about this later and how to plumb that and why they exist. But I want you guys to see what's underneath, because we have a hole in the tank. So this top one, that's the big one. That's just a shorty. This one's a little bit more extended. And then the other one goes to the middle chamber. So pretty neat to see that. All right, here we go. Point of no return. We're gonna burn this in. Now, at this point, you could actually mock up the tank back in the car, make sure you've removed enough material. Mentally, for me, I know I've removed enough material and I don't want to actually modify the tank further below the seam. So if there's still a problem, I'm gonna have to modify the exhaust, but I'm pretty sure we're okay. Now, when we go to working with sheet metal, you want to tack it in and then do sections at a time. You can't just do a whole bead along that because you'll actually end up putting too much heat in a section and it'll warp. So that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up, and with TIG welding, when you tack, you actually don't need a filler rod because you're just using the metal that's already there just to tack it in one spot. So I'm going to tack it in multiple spots, then I get my filler rod out and do sections at a time, like 1 to 1.5 inches at a time, and eventually it'll be done. So let's see how it works. Just like that. That was better. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a bunch more tacks. Be back, show you what I did. Bam! Hey, that was fun. No, it's not fun. I still have to do the other corner. And then flip it up right side up, fill it with water, see if there are leaks. If there are no leaks, we're gonna paint it. So next episode, we have still a lot to do. Paint it real quick, show you some tricks there. We need to discuss the vent tubes, how to plumb that, why these exist, and how important it is to plumb it correctly. We also need to test the sending unit, test the gauge, and we also need to show you the backup plan. Should you need to drain your tank, I got a trick for that. Lastly, test drive, the most important and fun part. So guys, hang out, subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, build them fast, drive them faster. See ya.